bestowed upon himself, literally meaning the deity made manifest. His original name was Mithridates, meaning gift of Mithras, one of the deities of ancient Persia, which the Greeks also worshipped and is still worshipped in the Zoroastrian religion to this day. Mithras was one of the Persian versions of Sol Invictus, which was adopted by the Hellenistic pantheon as the deity of the sun. Clearly, Antiochus believed he was a deity, as can be seen in coins minted by him and depicting him seated on the throne of Zeus. He was sometimes called Epimanes, meaning madman, a play on the word Epiphanes. This was done by people in his empire because they knew that he was insane. Since the reign of Antiochus III, the father of Antiochus Epiphanes, the Jews, the Yehudim, had enjoyed extensive autonomy under the high priest. They were divided into different parties, namely two: the Hashmonim, or the Hasidians, which were the pious ones, the ones who guarded the Torah and kept the covenant, and a Reform party, which favored Hellenism. For financial reasons, Antiochus Epiphanes supported the Hellenized Jews. According to 2 Maccabees, a Hellenized Jew by the name of Yahushua renamed himself Yason, or Jesus, the name which gives us Jesus, and purchased the position of high priest from the Greek king Antiochus. The rightful high priest was displaced by the power of the king. Jason, or Jesus, built a gymnasium in Jerusalem to introduce the Greek mode of educating young people and created customs opposed to the Torah. In ancient times, the gymnasium was a place to worship and participate in various games in the nude. Jason, or Jesus, even donated large sums of silver to the sacrifice of the Greek deity Hercules, as recorded in the book of Maccabees. His brother Melanius purchased the right to be high priest behind his back from the king. Jason, or Yason, Jesus, he was so angry that he attacked the city of Jerusalem, slaying many of his own countrymen. He did this because he thought Antiochus had died fighting against Ptolemy for the reign of Egypt, or Mitzrayim. This commotion, however, was perceived by Antiochus as a revolt because he did not die in Egypt. Therefore, Antiochus marched upon Jerusalem. Within 3 days, he had slaughtered 40,000 Yehudim, including women and children, along with the elderly. He sold about the same number into slavery. Melanius, the priest, guided Antiochus to the location of the Kodesh, the set-apart vessels and gifts that had been given by kings to the temple of Yahuwah. Antiochus left with 1,800 talents of gold, which he plundered from the temple. Antiochus changed the name of Jerusalem to Antioch after his own name. In the writings of the historian Josephus Flavius, who is also a Kohen, a priest of the Yehudim, the Jews, we read, in the Jewish war, the king being there to dispose beforehand, complied with them, and came upon the Jews with a great army, and took their city by force, and slew a great multitude of those who favored Ptolemy, and sent out his soldiers to plunder them without mercy. He also spoiled the temple, and put a stop to the constant practice of offering a daily sacrifice of expiation for the 3 years and 6 months. The events that transpired during the first Hanukkah will be repeated in the last days. As the old saying goes, history has a way of repeating itself, and we know this to be true, especially in the scriptures. We see that events repeat themselves time and time again. The book of Maccabees takes place during that period between the prophet Malachi and the book of Matithyahu during that gap of time. So it is very important because this fills in many gaps in history for those who are unaware of the lesson of the Maccabees. And those of you who are familiar, you could still learn many things by studying the accounts year after year. In 1st Maccabees or Maccabees, chapter 1, we read in verse 41, "Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, and everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king." You see, this was seen as a multicultural melting pot where everybody had an equal opportunity to be one people, and you could be equal with the Greeks. No matter what your status in the empire was, you could now be a Greek citizen. You see, and it seemed on the surface to be very innocent. People like this idea today, the idea of having a melting pot of culture and religion and politics and being open-minded and progressive and staying with the times and moving and changing laws and changing ideas and changing those long-held perspectives. That today, if you have those kind of ideas, the idea of being singular, the idea of having your own religion or your own point of view, and it has anything to do with the scriptures at all, then there is always a problem. It's always a problem. If you believe in the scriptures, if you promote the idea of Yahuwah Elohim and his Torah, then you will be persecuted and people will be against you just as they were at this time, you see, because the Yahudim did not go along with this commandment of the king. Some of them did, as we're going to read, but not all of them. And this is because essentially the king's warning was to forsake the Torah, because the Torah, the first 5 books of Moses, are often called the law. It means the instructions, but it is also the law, the constitution for the people of Yahuwah. So therefore the king's requirement was that they forsake the Torah given by Yahuwah. You see, Yahuwah's laws are not like the laws of the nations. They're very specific, but the laws of the nations are very similar. They have similar sacrifices, similar deities, similar idols. All these things are very similar. So a synchronicity was being formed within the Greco Empire. And we see that this synchronicity was used to persecute the way of Yahuwah. It says further, it says, "And many of the Israelites consented to this religion and sacrificed unto idols and profaned the Shabbat," the Sabbath. You see, this is a key to the understanding here. This whole event is transpiring because of compromise. Because the people of Yahuwah, some of them compromised along the way. They wanted to be like the other nations. They envied the way of the other nations. And so therefore, at the first opportunity to compromise, they had compromised. You see, this idea of Hellenization still exists today. It is a mindset. It is something where you have accepted a multicultural concept that allows you to somehow slip and slide into other perversions that lead you away from Yahuwah and worshiping false deities and breaking the Sabbath and doing all these things. It says further, "For the king had sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Yehudah, that they should follow the strange laws of the land and forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple of Yahuwah. And they should profane the Sabbaths and the festival days and pollute the sanctuary and the Kodesh people. And they set up altars and groves." Now, groves are called asherim in the Hebrew language. These are sacred trees. The scriptures tell us that the ancient pagans, the Canaanites, the Hittites, and the Amorites, and all the people in the region, that they set up evergreen trees and that they put abominations under every green tree. And the Israelites would also fall into this abomination time and time again. This is also referenced by the prophet Yirmiyahu, who says that the heathen would cut down evergreen trees and bring them into their home and decorate them with gold and silver. Does this sound familiar? This was what was happening. And Yahuwah says this was a pollution on the land. that the heathen, the Greeks, were setting up these altars, these sacred trees, and it says further, chapels of idols, and sacrificing swine's flesh, which is to'ebah, or abomination, according to Yahuwah Elohim, an unclean beast, that they should also leave their children uncircumcised and make their souls abominable